Hey guys, in this tutorial I want to share a face retouching technique that I've been working on for a while now that's really going to speed up your workflow, and I believe it gives a far more natural result, and of course it's much faster than a lot of the traditional methods that I've been showing you. So it's a variation of a couple of techniques that I use using the frequency separation but then introducing a layer mask, and I believe it gives a much more natural result because you can selectively target the areas that you want to enhance or retouch, leaving the areas of skin that don't need as much work alone, and that overall gives a far more natural result. So let's have a look. Traditionally, a retouch like this might be a three-step process. Firstly, using a hue saturation to get rid of the red coloring. Secondly, using a frequency separation adjustment layer where you'll come in and even out the skin tone and then get rid of the lumps and bumps, and you get something that maybe looks like this with a bit of burning and dodging. And what it is yes, you get this clean skin tone, but it's got this such an artificial look about it, and often it takes forever to do, and I've never really loved the result. So the alternative is to spend ages and do it with burning, just simply burning and dodging and lots of adjustment layers, and you can end up spending 30 minutes to an hour per face. Or try this technique, which I think looks super natural, and it uses all of those techniques just in a slightly different way. So what I do is I've got my original image, and I'm going to come into my actions palette and download the awesome skin frequency separation action. All right, and that's available to download for free in the download section. I'm going to come up to the skin tone. There is several detailed tutorials on how to do this. So I'm going to go a bit quickly with this one just to show you how to do it. So I've got my lasso tool selected. I'm going to have a feather of about 20 pixels, and what I'm going to do is just roughly select each section of the face, come into filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and it's just a matter of adjusting the blur until you just start to notice that the imperfections in the skin, the variations smooth out. So we go from having reds and browns and blotches, and keep moving across to the right until they're smoothed out, which is about 19 for my camera, for my particular resolution. It'll be different for each camera. Once you've got one, you can actually just repeat the process by applying it and then just applying the same settings to each one. All right. And there are shortcuts, but I can't use them while I'm recording because I've got similar shortcuts for the recording software. But learn the shortcuts because that makes things a lot faster. So you can see I'm being fairly slapdash with this part of it. You don't need to be that careful. All right, and just this little section here. All right, so that's all covered, and maybe I'll just do the neck as well. There we go. All right, so that's that first part. Then I come up to the details and texture, choose my clone stamp, make sure blend mode is light and opacity 100. I'm going to have my flow at 19%, and make sure that current layer is checked, the first one. All right, and I'm just going to come in and brush over any little lumps and bumps here, and that's just cleaning that up. All right, so I'm selecting a nice section of skin next to the blemish and basically doing little skin grafts here. Again, lots of detailed tutorials showing you how to do this. This tutorial is just showing you a quicker way, but if you want to learn how to do cloning and using frequency separation, I recommend you check out those earlier tutorials that give you all of that in great detail. All right, so just quickly going through and removing those blemishes using the clone stamp. Pretty much got rid of everything. Just zooming back every now and then. All right, a couple more up here. Get rid of that, that one there. Okay. So there it is. It's got that plasticky look again. But what I want to do is, now that I've got my folder here that it's got the skin tone layer that we just used the lasso tool and evened out the skin tone. The details layer was to get rid of the lumps and bumps, and the skin tone layer also addressed the red discoloration. But the good news is it also left that little healthy, youthful glow that he has, that red glow on his cheeks and his nose, which I really like. So I'm going to close this group, which is the awesome skin layer. And now I'm going to this layer here, add a layer mask. You can add layer mask to entire groups. Now, what I've just done is visible. What I want to do is hide everything that I've just done with the layer mask. So I'm going to invert the layer mask. Again, if this is all not making sense, I recommend that you go and check out the tutorial on layer masks, which explains how they work. So I've inverted the layer mask, so essentially it's hidden under there. If I come along now and select my brush, have white as my foreground color, wherever I brush with white is going to reveal that skin retouch that we just did, which means that I can actually now selectively just brush in the areas that I want to retouch, and it'll give a much more realistic look, because I can leave all of these areas like that, this here, along here, under the eyes, which aren't a problem. And so I think it's going to give a much more natural look. So I've got my brush selected, white is my foreground color, mode is normal, opacity 100%, and again, have that flow at around 13%, and make sure that the brush is super soft, so at 0 hardness. And I'm just going to come in and brush over the areas, and like magic, you get this really supernatural looking retouch. You can come in with a big brush. I think it's going to make the transition a lot smoother. And I'm just, again, selecting those areas. So this side of the face never needed to be retouched. So why would I have to retouch it? So I'm going to do the nose. I'm going to do the cheeks. And so what that's doing, it's applying with a layer mask to both these layers, the details and the textures and the skin tone, and it's adding that back in one go. And so you can selectively now retouch those images and these little areas. So I'm now going to do probably the worst affected area, which is the chin here. And because I've got my flow down to low, I'm building up on that adjustment. So if I just keep sweeping over, it'll build on that rather than doing it all in one aggressive sweep. And that is now cleaning up his skin tone, but he doesn't have that sort of robotic look anymore. So let's have a look. That was before, that was after. Okay, and I just want to show you the original way. See the difference? So that's the original, just using frequency separation, burn and dodge on all of the skin, which flattens it out, and I just think you lose the personality. It just looks too perfect. to the technique that I've just shown you using the frequency separation with a layer mask added on, you're retaining all of this detail under the eyes, the transition of the skin tone, some of the imperfections on the face, and I think it gives a much more natural, and you can see when I toggle on and off, there are a lot of the areas of the skin that haven't been affected, and I think it works really well, particularly for this kind of teenage skin. And I've got another example here of a female model. So you can see, let me just toggle on and off. So here is before, and here is using the original technique, so frequency separation, bit of burn and dodge, and here it is using the less aggressive technique where I'm using a layer mask. So I think it makes a big difference, and it's just far more gentle. We get rid of the blemishes, you get rid of the discoloration, but it's not as obvious. And even like little shadows caused by light and skin texture as well is all removed, but without making the image look like you've over retouched it. So before, after.